Hey there, second grade. How's everybody doing today? And welcome back to another remote learning math lesson with Mr. Enzi. Today, you are going to need a couple of things. One of them is your whiteboard and marker, and the other is your number grid. And you can place that number grid right inside your sheet protector so that you can use your number grid to solve some of these problems that we are going to do today. So let's get started as I shrink myself into the corner. Today, we are going to be doing grade 2, lesson 5.6. Mentally adding and subtracting 10 and 100. And you will need your number grid and your sheet protector, your whiteboard, and your marker. So if you need to go and gather up all of those items, you can always hit the pause button, because we are going to continue and get started. So our math message today, of course, is our little warm-up that we do. And you're going to need your number grid for this. Maybe. You might not need it. So let's see what we're going to do. Which number is 10 more than 35? So that would be like saying 35 plus 10, 10 more. What do you think? If you're not sure, you can use your number grid. 35 plus 10. Well, if I was on a number grid, the first thing that I would do is I would find the number 35. There it is. And if I wanted a number that was 10 more, all I would do is drop down that elevator one time, and there is the number. 10 more than 35 is the number 45. Notice that the tens digit changed. I went from the 30s to the 40s. Awesome job. And the ones digit stayed the same. So whenever I added 10, only that tens digit changed. Here's another little warm-up. Which number is 10 less than 87? 10 less. And that's like saying 87 minus 10. If you need your number grid, you can go ahead and use it. Or could you do it mentally in your mind? First thing I would do is find the number 87 on my number grid. It's with all of my 80s. There it is. 10 less means I'm going to travel up that elevator one time. 87 minus 10 will give me 77. Notice that the only number that changed was the number in the tens place, and it got less one time. It went from the 80s to the 70s, and the ones digit stayed the same. So our warm-up involved 10 more and 10 less, adding 10, subtracting 10. We have been using the number grid to solve problems like these in the past. Today, we're going to try and work on being able to do it in our minds. But we'll use our number grid to see if we can discover some patterns. You might have to clear off your number grid. Here is a special number grid that I have. This number grid is different than your number grid. This number grid starts at the number 101, and it ends at 200. So whenever I wanted to add 10 to a number, it's that tens digit that's going to change. Let's take a look. Let's say we wanted to start at the number 105. There it is, 105. If I wanted to add 10, notice that the only digit that changed was the tens digit. It went from a 0 to a 1. It increased to the next 10. 105 plus 10, 115. pretty neat. Let me see if I can pick another one. Oh, let's try this one. 123 plus 10. 133. Notice that the 23 became a 33. The only number that changed was the tens digit. Remember, we have the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. Let's try another. Let me see if here's another one. 146. If I wanted to add 10, the tens digit is going to change. Instead of 146, it's going to be 156. So we are able to add 10 to any number. Now, just like we can add 10 to a number, we also can subtract 10 from a number. Let's try another one. Oh, here's the number 118. Now, if I want to subtract 10, my ones digit is going to go and get less. Here's 118. 10 less 108. Notice that the tens digit decreased. It went from 1 to 0. Let's try another. Oh, here's a good one. 154. If I wanted to go 10 less, the tens digit would decrease by 1. 154 minus 10, 144. Pretty cool. Let's try a harder one. Ooh. 195. Now, if I wanted to subtract 10 instead of 195, it's going to go to 185 because the 80s come before the 90s. Awesome job. All right, let's go ahead and let's try some on our whiteboard. Here's what I want you to do on your whiteboard. On your whiteboard, I want you to put a really big plus sign. A line going down the middle, up and down, and a line going across. And you're going to notice that there are 4 problems for you to try. You do not have to write down the whole problem. You can just write the answer in each box. So we have box 1, box 2, box 3, and box 4. Go ahead and hit that pause button and try to solve these 4 problems on your whiteboard. When you're done, hit play. We're going to see if you were able to do these problems in your mind. Go ahead and press pause. All right, hopefully you finished the 4 problems. Let's see how you did. 130 plus 10 is 140. Notice the tens digit went from a 3 to a 4. 162 plus 10, 172. Notice that the 6, which was 60, moved to the 7, which became the 70. Number 3, 178 plus 10, 188. And the last one, 104 plus 10 became 114. Wow, I see a lot of amazing answers out there. Go ahead and erase your whiteboard. Now I'm going to show you a different number grid. This number grid starts at the number 1, and it goes all the way to the number 300. 100. Wow! So here's what we're going to do. I wanted to just show you that if I pick any number and I add 10 to it, let's see, I'm going to start with 3. Look what happens when I add 10. The ones digit stays the same, but the tens digit keeps changing. 63, 73, 83, 93. And now's a tricky one. 103. Because look what happened to our tens digit. It went from a 9, and then we wrote 10 because we moved to the next hundreds. So then we go from 103 to 113, 123, 133, 143, 53, 163, 173, 183, 193. Notice that my 19 became a 20 because it took us to the next 100. And we start all over. 213, 223, 33, 43, 253, 263, 273, 83, 293. And if I wanted to add 10 more, 29 would bump up to 30, and it would be 303. Pretty tricky, but these are problems that we can do in our minds. Awesome job. Let's go ahead and try some more on our whiteboard. Let's go and draw our big plus sign again. Line down the middle, going up and down, and a line going across. And again, we have 4 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, don't get tricked this time. The top 2 problems are adding 10, but the bottom 2 problems are subtracting 10. Go ahead and hit that pause button. See if you can solve these problems. When you're done, press play so that we can see how you did. Let's see how you did. 245 plus 10. Well, there's my tens digit. Instead of 40, we move to the 50s, and we get 255. 219 plus 10. Well, in my tens digit, I have a 1. If I'm going to add 10, my tens digit is going to move to the 20s. 229. This time it was a subtraction problem, 10 less. 260 minus 10. Well, the 60s minus 10 takes us to the 50s. So we have 250. And number 4 was the hardest one. 201 minus 10. Because I have a 0, I want to look at that whole number there. It's 20, and I bumped it down to 19. So 201 minus 10 is 191. That is a very tricky problem. Now, just like we can add or subtract 10, we can also add and subtract 100. But this time, our tens digit won't change. This time, the hundreds digit will change. Let's see. Here's 205. 205. 305. 405. I'm adding 100. 505, 605, 705, 805, 905. So when I count by hundreds, only the hundredths digit changes. So this is like adding 100 to a number. Let's try another one. This time I have 234, and I want to add 100. The only digit that's going to change is the hundredths digit. 334, 434, 534, 634, 734, 834, 934. So we can add 100 to a number. Now we can also subtract 100 from a number. When we subtract 100, the digit in the hundredths place is going to get one less. Let's see. 958 minus 100, 858, 758, 658, 558, 458, 358, 258. I'm going to keep going. 158. And if I had to keep going, 58 would come next if I kept subtracting 100. Awesome job. And another example. Subtract 100, 902, 802, 702, 602, 502, 402, 302, and 202. So you can see that when we subtract 100, only the hundredth digit changes, and it decreases by 1, or 100. Let's try one last group on our whiteboard. Let's go ahead and make that really big plus sign again. Remember that we have 4 boxes. I want you to try these problems. The top 2 are adding 100. The bottom 2 are subtracting 100. Let's see how you do. Go ahead and press that pause button while you finish, and then come back to see how you did. All right, let's check your work. 560 plus 100. Well, if I'm in the 500ths, I'm going to move to the 600ths. So 560 plus 100, 660. 182 plus 100 is 282. Now we're doing subtraction. 430 minus 100 is 330. And the last one was the toughest one because I like to challenge you. 178 minus 100. And we're below the number 100. So our answer is just 78. That hundredths digit really became a 0. But we don't write the 0 in front of a number. Awesome job! Wow, second grade. Today we practiced mentally adding 10 and 100 and subtracting 10 and 100 to a number. And mentally means to be able to do it in your mind because we are amazing mathematicians. So go ahead and log into your Seesaw activity and practice adding 10 and 100. And then practice subtracting 10 and 100 to a number. I can't wait to see how smart you are.